All right, everybody, we should be live. Let's make sure that's actually the case over on Rumble, of course. It's been a very, very tiresome week for me. And so, again, I'm a little bit on the lower energy side, although I did get about 20 minutes extra sleep this morning. So, I'm still kicking it, but I've definitely got some clank juice over here. Yes, this is coffee. Don't worry. And it's really properly brewed. I make the best coffee. Huge. Unbelievable. We'll make sure that we're live on Rumble really quick. Show me the goofy. Yes, indeed. I see my fake kitty co-host that doesn't actually puke everywhere. Farah has some digestive issues. She's a good kitty overall, but she does go and nibble the plants out in the garden, and then she regurgitated next to me right at the end of my first video this morning. For anyone that didn't see that, it was funny. I'm like, oh, not a surprise. Anyway, just a second here. Let me make sure my tabs are okay. We got lots to cover today. Chest feeding. Yeah, the newspeak term for men that are sticking their lactating boobs in a baby's face. We'll talk about it. It's just weird. Wisconsin Republicans say they are doubting Trump's ability to win. A poll shows DeSantis blowout. We'll talk about that and the mythology behind it. Also, as well, the TDS sufferers, they're still having pipe dreams. And then, of course, Meta. We'll talk a little bit about that. We got some chats over on Rumble. Cam2425IA, morning, Clankdom. Big Ron Beast says, peace. J Mointy 0071, it's my 22nd wedding anniversary. Woot. Oh, congratulations to you. Excellent. And Crafty 1694 says, hey. David Denoon. Good morning. Good morning to you as well. Yeah, but I've got plenty of caffeine. It's the only thing keeping me going at this point. It's been a tiring week. The baby's sleep schedule has changed. Unfortunately, that means that she is waking up much, much earlier than before. I can take it, but at the same time, it's like, an extra half hour wouldn't be bad. Imagine later in the year, right now it's peak sun time outside. So the sun comes up early. Well, that's manageable. At the very least, the lighting is okay. Imagine if that happens in November. That's going to be a little bit difficult. I think I'm going to need some stage lighting. Yeah, D-Rock has a point. I didn't have a problem with DeSantis until he showed his colors. I optioned DeSantis as the heir apparent as part of a Trump dynasty. What I wanted is Trump takes up Rand Paul. Rand Paul runs twice with DeSantis as his running mate, and then DeSantis runs. He'd be in the perfect age range. He'd have executive experience at the state and federal level, and seemed principled at the time. And I've entirely forsaken that. I no longer want Ron DeSantis anywhere near the White House. If Trump were to take him up as a running mate, I would cock an eyebrow, actually, at this point. Justin Stone, thoughts on the Nair hair removal video posted less than 2 weeks ago? Currently at 16 million views on YouTube. I am aware of the existence of effectively gay porn on YouTube, and it disturbs me. It reminds me of House of Air. And for those of you that do know, it needs no further elaboration. House of Air was billed as an anthropological documentary of gay sexual practices. It was effectively nothing more than a fetishistic long-form porn video involving fisting and Santorum. If you don't know what that is, you can look it up, but you might be grossed out if you have a weaker stomach than me, and things of that nature. And it remained up on YouTube for an extended period of time, despite the fact that half the internet had flagged it. YouTube finally took it down. I think they will probably with the Nair video as well. It would be nice if YouTube would get its priorities straight and it would start banning the obviously porn, but hiding behind artistic license or scientific license thing, instead of constantly algorithmically demoting people like myself who are doing nothing wrong and who have conformed the TOS for, in some cases, over a decade as I have. That would be nice. Get your priorities in order. I guarantee that probably 1,000 people have probably flagged that video since I went live a few minutes ago. But we'll see what happens with that one. And they're probably just trying to groom people. That Manx guy sent $20. No comment. Thank you very much anyway. Yeah, we've got a lot to cover today. Adam THM on Rumble. The weird takes from people desperately trying to make threads into the new leftist echo chamber is funny. The left keeps simping for billion-dollar companies. LMFAO. Yeah, it is funny. And we'll talk about my thoughts on Twitter threads in a bit here. But first, we'll get to the first news. Politicized CDC endorses trans biological males chest feeding for babies. Yes, the idea of lactation for males is now being pushed by the and I can't criticize them too much because YouTube holds them up along with the WHO as the standard of medical information on their site. Is upholding the concept that men should take estrogen and use breast pumps in order to lactate, in order to feed infants. Now, on level one, I look at this and I just say, well, the average person would find it weird. It's not really necessary. Pragmatically speaking, women have done a good enough job, I think, of breastfeeding throughout human history that it's not really necessary. Even if you think that it's proper, you're like, well, it's good that men have finally achieved breast equality. But is it necessary? There are plenty of women in the world. If a baby can't be breastfed, there's some sort of allergy, communicable disease, etc. There are formulas that were synthesized in some cases many years ago, before any of us were alive, and it's not really it's not necessary. The concept of developing a new speak term called chest feeding as a replacement for breastfeeding is itself bullshit. Women deserve to be upheld and respected for their role in creating human life. Women are the ones that get pregnant. Women's are the ones that carry the babies. Women's are I think that femininity should be celebrated. I'm the opposite of a MGTOW on this issue. Thank you, Kitty. Come on. I've had enough of you guys today. Femininity deserves to be upheld. It deserves to be celebrated. It deserves to be almost worshipped, because that's literally everybody has a mother who gave birth to them. No men have ever given birth. And I think that there's nothing wrong with that. And the fact that there are some people that are taking something that is beautiful, something that is of the utmost cultural importance, of the utmost biological importance, and trying to denigrate it and make it ugly and pretend that men can give birth, which they can't, I find offensive, actually. It takes quite a bit to offend me. Likewise, masculinity should also be celebrated. The idea of a man improving himself, being ambitious, being strong, mentally and physically, and so forth, I think is a good thing. I think that we could use more of that in the world, not less. I think that this is a cultural weakness. It's a symptom of decadence. What it is that people have become bored and weak and mentally ill, and so they're seeking to find things to usurp simply out of boredom. And Marxists and other groups of people, they enjoy this. They think that that's wonderful, because then they can subvert even further. Men and women both exist. They deserve to exist. There's nothing wrong with maleness. There's nothing wrong with femaleness. Women are capable of breastfeeding infants. It is not necessary for a man to take a boatload of estrogen and use a breast pump in order to feed an infant. By the way, are we going to find out years from now that the biological profile of that lactated fluid is different from that created by biological females? I have a feeling that you will. I have a feeling that it'll be considered medically problematic at some point. Be hushed up at first, but people realize the truth at some point. And I would assume that could be a problem, literally medically, that the child is not getting the same nutrient profile they would get from breast milk from a biological female. The same is true of formula. I mean, it can be a stand-in. Of course, a baby can survive on formula, thrive, and grow strong and so forth, but it's not exactly the same. And there can be problems with that. Female breast milk is the standard that babies should be drinking for their first couple of years of life, or thereabouts, more or less. Of course, our daughter has started on solid foods. And by the way, she really likes spicy foods, I've noticed. That Herrera, I've got cayenne powder in it and a little bit of Tabasco. Don't tell Liz. And so it's a little bit on the spicy side. She gobbles it down. She comes trundling over to my plate when I go over there to eat We eat on the couch normally, and there's a table there. And she thinks that the concept of sharing is stealing my food. Well, she fucking loves it. I think that it's great, by the way. What the hell? Can I please ask people, what exactly about breastfeeding was lacking that we have to fiddle with the system at this point in humanity's history? For thousands and thousands and thousands of years, moms have breastfed their infants. And again, formula should exist because there are a handful of instances in which it's not possible to breastfeed normally. I mean, you can have a wet nurse or something that can be a little bit weird too, potentially. But generally, breast milk does it. That's the goal, is to use the breast milk. Why is it that a man has to do that? It's not necessary. Men do have the ability to lactate, but you have to significantly alter the biology of the male body to do so. I'm wondering if the chemical profile of the resulting lactated fluid will be different from what is given by an actual biological female. And I'm thinking that probably it is, because men and women, believe it or not, despite what you've been told in the woke legacy media, men and women are not actually the same. There are differences between them. For instance, women tend to have a vagina. Men tend to have a penis. This is somehow remarkably politically incorrect to point out at this point. So, I mean, it's weird. It's just, they've gone off the deep edge. They're so decadent that at this point, they're just trying to find problems to solve that don't exist. Like men not being allowed to breastfeed. Well, why would you want to? Breastfeeding is not considered to be necessarily a fun thing by most women. When the baby decides to half bite your nipple off, maybe you'll think differently of it. Stan Vanderact. Hey, Sticks, lost my job today because of the poop show regarding the nitrogen crisis here in the Netherlands. We got to need a bigger clank. My condolences for that. You were working in farming, I suppose? Pastoralism of some sort, perhaps. Elizabeth's philosophy, probably the fake one. Honey, I got to disagree with what you said last night. Your fans are not no-life having goofs that exist only to put money in your pocket. As long as you pay me, I'm willing to read out fake tweets by my fake wife. There's nothing wrong with that. Oh, Stan was in construction. Why would the nitrogen crisis have anything to do with that? Some sort of chemical processing that they banned or something? Wouldn't surprise me. They're going to come for everyone's jobs eventually. So yeah, men now are encouraged by the CDC to breastfeed. Apparently it's healthy for them. Fuck precedent biologically, and I can't think of any other mammalian species in which the male animals breastfeed. By the way, this is a big thing. This is a big difference in apples to oranges thing with like gay marriage or something like that. It was often repeated, and it's technically true, that there are hundreds of species on the planet that at least occasionally they display homosexual behavior. But I can't think of another mammalian species that displays male chest feeding. So a little bit different now, ain't it? Wonderful. Samantha Winter, things seem to be reaching a fever pitch. Everything is so hectic and terrifying. How much longer do we have to endure leftism before the current paradigm changes and so-called progressivism fails? We're already well into that period of time, so stay tuned. Transylvanian 90. These people with their chest feeding and similar stuff are deliberately wrecking society to usher in the brave new world. Government is full of goofs. It's full of corrupt people, mostly. Stan. Diesel fuels contain a mixture of chemicals that release nitrogen oxide. Most construction equipment still uses diesel to operate. Oh, well, that explains it. So they've decided to downsize. Less construction. Yeah, the Netherlands, less construction. Holy Christ, the entire nation is one giant construction site. There are probably 5 construction projects within a 10-minute walk of where I am. And I'm nowhere near the center of the Netherlands like the Amsterdam area. You should see it. They're building skyscraper after skyscraper. You would not imagine. If you're from the United States, you've never seen anything like that. It's like the boom times of like the 1910s for the US or something. Yeah, I see seahorses are being mentioned. Seahorses, the males will carry the fertilized embryos and the little baby seahorses. However, they were inside of the mother originally. The Landlord Harassment Channel. I mistakenly thought Philosophy Cat was your wife. Lol. Yeah, apparently some people think that they look similar. I'm not seeing the similarity quite as much. Castigator, MGTOW, own my own home, make six figures, and respect that men and women are not interchangeable and can serve unique roles in society. Exactly. The Happy Plague Doctor. Styx makes the best tacos. Styx makes the best soup. Styx makes the best coffee. Imagine the smell of his poop. I definitely make very competent tacos because I was taught how to do so by Mexicans. So it's a little bit different from the average gringo. I definitely make good soups. I wouldn't say they're the best. Liz definitely has an edge on me with the lentil soup, and that's my favorite. So Liz gets the credit for that. As far as the coffee, yeah, I brew it pretty well. It definitely isn't the kind of shit that you get in a car dealership. Samantha Winter took your advice, by the way, and got a new job. Here's to self-improvement. There you go. That's what I'm talking about. William Curtin, who is actually running the White House, a loose collective of various generals, corporatists, and other assorted dross and dregs of society. It's certainly not Biden doing so. Preamble on Rumble. This Vegemite vodka rules. That sounds terrible. Although I do have to say Vegemite is not as bad as some people probably predict it will be. It's just very, very powerful in flavor. You're not supposed to use an enormous amount of it on your piece of toast. I've had Vegemite before from specifically an Australian MRE. It's not bad. It's just really fucking powerful. It would be a good additive for other foods if they required an enormous amount of salt and kind of a yeasty flavor. Matt G. Hammond. I think some people were right that said his wife, Casey DeSantis, is pushing Ron to run for president. She has an ad out now that reminds people of Hillary. Yeah, I've seen that. It is a little bit odd. Awesome Diesel. My favorite cam guy is live to talk dirty politics. Lots and lots of them. Next news story. We're going to go through a mythology here. Wisconsin Republicans say voters are doubting Trump's ability to win after poll shows DeSantis blowout. Wisconsin GOP leader says there's a reason Democrats want to run against Trump. Now, if you look at this article, which comes from Fox, surprise, surprise, at first you'd say, oh, well, DeSantis does better in the swing states than Trump does, so clearly he should be the nominee. Well, no, you're talking about a small cherry-picked field of polls in one particular state. The Marquette University Law School poll released last week showed Trump leading DeSantis by only 1 percentage point in the crowded GOP primary field, which is a massive goddamn outlier. So keeping that in mind, leading by 1 point is a lot different from leading by 30 points. Just saying. But when asked who they would vote for in a head-to-head matchup between DeSantis and Trump, respondents chose DeSantis over Trump by a whopping 57 to 41%. There's probably a reason that I'm not seeing this poll aggregated on RCP. We'll put it that way. We'll put it very bluntly. Ron DeSantis leading by 16 points. Yes, in the state of Wisconsin, according to one poll that massively exaggerates DeSantis' support. But it's not even remotely. It's not even within 3 standard deviations of the data within the aggregate. So I either have to assume that this one poll gets it right, every single other poll conducted for now the better part of a year is utterly and totally wrong, and not just wrong, but massively fucking dead wrong, or I can assume that this one poll is an outlier. The reason why this was reported on is because Fox News prefers DeSantis. I think in their case, they genuinely think he has a better shot. I think they think Trump has too much baggage. I prefer Trump. I like the chaos candidate. I'm almost glad that he's under indictment going into the primary system because it'll make it more fun. And it's exactly under stress is when Trump performs the best anyway. If you really want to see him shine at a debate, get under his collar. All you have to do is get under his skin a little bit and rile him up. Then you see the fireworks. Otherwise, Trump is more standard as a candidate. He doesn't have out there views. The concept that Trump is an extremist or something has been overblown by the left for a very long time. Fox News has decided, as a legacy media company, as predicted many, many years ago, to finally go along with the uniparty line. The foreshock of this was their firing of the one person with semi-autonomy on their network, namely Tucker Carlson, some time ago. I will be voting for Trump. If he's not the nominee, I'll be writing him in. Maybe I'll mount my own joke campaign or something. I'll get a couple hundred votes. 16 Vermonters voted for me for governor once because I made one fucking 5-minute video. So I think I'm in a good position. I might have more support than Larry Elder. Lapse of apathy. When I think of chest feeding, I think of Peter Griffin from Family Guy feeding Stewie. Yeah, that was considered a fun joke many years ago. If you were to put that same episode out now, then you'd have a bunch of people calling to boycott your show. It's another irony there. BW. You think the Supreme Court screwed our chances? No, I don't think the Supreme Court did anything wrong. Deus Flex. I'm from Wisconsin. Our state's GOP gave the nation Paul Ryan. They can't be trusted. Wisconsin is arguably the most screwy state politically. You'll remember in the 2016 election, Trump was way out ahead in 3 out of, I think, the 4 aggregated polls that were taken before the primary was held. And I called the state for Trump. I said, well, I think that he'll win 5-10 points or thereabouts. Ted Cruz won it, actually. It was one of the last states I think that he actually won. He managed to win it because the local like the AM radio syndicates and stuff wield disproportionate political power within the state, and they came out against Trump by and large. They gave the state to Cruz. In the general election, that was one of only 2 states I got wrong in 2016, as far as my prediction. Wisconsin is an odd state politically, and so we'll see what happens, but I'm not convinced by one single outlier poll in one state that seems to overestimate DeSantis' support, arguably by 40 points. I'm skeptical about the polling methodology. President Irina Vladimirovna Putina. After Tucker left Fox News, I've started listening to Kitsune News. Well, you should just listen to me and a handful of other content creators. Get some Razorfist, get some Tim Pool, etc., etc. Independent content creation is much better. Just be careful of the Zoomer content creators, because at this point, anyone who's breaking through is probably AstroTurf. They probably have a contract. They're favored by the algorithm for a reason. Not a banned account. Why not sell the milk from human chest feeding? I think that breast milk actually can be purchased. I think. I don't know. How long can you freeze that shit before it's no longer viable? I'm not sure. Of course, contamination would be a problem, I suppose. Don't think it tends to be pasteurized. Next news story. Rival Republicans need an early victory to knock Donald Trump off his path to nomination. Is New Hampshire the place to do it? My answer is probably not. When I look at the first 4 states, I look at the polling, I look at the demographics and stuff. All 4 of them are MAGA country. I can't imagine it. Basically, like, if DeSantis wants a path to victory, here's what he would have to do. And I don't support him, so maybe I'm giving advice to someone I wouldn't support, but I don't give a shit. I don't think he's viable at this point. And by the way, his campaign strategy has been a disaster, so he'll keep imploding. If I were DeSantis, I would focus on one of the first 4 states. New Hampshire would be one of those states. You could focus on that one. Lowest population, low density. There's not that many major settlements there. And so you can hit them all up over and over again, outflank Trump potentially in a place like New Hampshire. Be the same with Nevada. There aren't many major settled areas there. South Carolina would be a little harder. The other 3 starting states, also Iowa, is mostly rural. You're going to go and campaign in the cities. If Trump tried to do that, then you could barnstorm the cornfields and you could get the rural vote and maybe eke it out. Trump is ahead by at least 20 points in all 4 of the starting states. It is true that in New Hampshire, I believe he has the lowest margin of support, but it's still around that margin. South Carolina is probably off the table. Iowa's probably off the table. Nevada, I guess you could make an argument you'd need a hell of a lot of effort and a hell of a lot of money. By the way, I'd point out something else. Ron DeSantis is currently outraising and outspending Trump by a significant margin. Has this gotten him literally anything in polling since he started his campaign? No, it has absolutely not helped him whatsoever. I think he's going to end up being the Jeb Bush or the Elizabeth Warren of the electoral cycle. Viability is there. There's nothing wrong with that. You've got the money. You've got the big backers, but you just can't gain the traction. You end up being an also-ran by virtue of that fact. I do not believe that Ron DeSantis is going to be the Republican nominee. I think it's going to be Trump. And you can say that that means that you lose the general. Honestly, throwing Trump at the establishment again for another time, I don't care. Of course, I would like him to win. He'd give me tax reform. There'd be an attempt on the border at least. Diplomacy would certainly get better. I think Trump was a good president. I don't know that he'd be as good in his second term. He could go Reagan mode. He could drop from a 6 out of 10 to a 3 out of 10 like Reagan did and disappoint me. That's always possible. But there's an attempt. There's a chance with Trump. I don't know that Ron DeSantis, with him, there would be a chance. Certainly, if Biden wins the general, we're in for 4 more years of Obama-esque doldrums. After that, another populist candidate will probably manage to cinch it. People will have had enough at that point. So even if Trump loses, I think our republic can weather another Biden term. Although I would give Trump a better than 50-50 chance. Not much more because we're still very far out. At this moment, though, looking at the economy, looking at Biden's health issues, yeah, and looking at the White House cocaine scandal, I would give Trump a better than 50-50 chance right now. Ron DeSantis' biggest weakness, though, is not Ron DeSantis, actually. It's his fans. They are basically acting like Elizabeth Warren fans or Kamala fans from election years past. Kamala Harris, who was briefly considered viable, and I warned, hey, she's a one-off, she's going to sink back down, and that's what happened. Ended up getting chosen as running mate, which was fairly predictable. Hit all the id poll boxes for one thing. Kamala Harris had a much smaller fan base than Biden, but it was much more hardened. It was much more acerbic. The problem is that in their haste to do everything that they could under the sun to support their candidate, they alienated a lot of other people because they always resorted to insults. I'm seeing that with DeSantis fans. Arguably, on that token, his fan base is more like Kamala 2020. And that is not a good place to be. He's certainly more intelligent than Kamala Harris. I will give him that. He's got some good ideas. 80 or 85% of his ideas are fine. I actually agree with him over Trump on the Disney thing. But I just can't see him winning. His fans end up, they have a problem. They end up alienating other people. So, yeah, I guess there's some spammers in chat. That's the price of being successful. You should see all the porn spam I get on Twitter all the time. BW, Supreme Court removed our only advantage with maps and more. I wouldn't count things out yet. Don't worry so much about the limited decision on Harper and more. Billy, Green Bay, Wisconsin ran out of printer paper in Hong Kong 2020 for the delay in results. Also, first super chat, Alan Parsons' project is fire. I agree, Alan Parsons is certified cool. He's done some solo shit too. It's pretty good. The Agal faces. The reason that Wisconsin's still a bluish-purple state isn't because Dems are better, but the GOP sucks. Uniparty levels. Also sticks Fumo plush when. Fumo plush never. I would agree with you. Wisconsin GOP tends to be more on that John McCain-esque side. The Patriot Cairo sticks. The look of defeat on your face after your cat puked. You were like, fuck it, I'm not doing this shit over again. Almost crashed my car laughing. My apologies for your vehicle. Yeah, I mean, I was already literally done with the video. I was preparing to wrap up, and then the cat starts puking right next to me. So I'm like, the baby is only going to be cooperative upstairs for so long. I literally can't remake the video. And then I'm like, well, people would probably find it funny anyway. Some people might find it disgusting, but I just don't give a fuck. I've got other things to do. Very little time to do it. That's the dad life. You gotta govern things around the baby's schedule more than your own. King of Biltong, $25. Good morning from Antons in Roanoke, Texas. Wanted to mention clankers are awesome. Remember your free shipping using code STICKS. #ClankNation. Good on you for supplying the meat. Claudius 1964. Sticks, how many Floridians do you think want DeSantis for president compared to those who still want him as governor? That's the thing. You had it made. You are a very popularly reelected governor, and many of the people that voted for you are MAGA. You got Trump's endorsement, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. All you fucking had to do was wait. That's literally all Ron DeSantis had to do. Some people are assuming that his wife is sort of like Gazelle there, Fetterman's wife. So basically, you better do it, mister, I'm getting a divorce. Something like that, forcing him to run against his better instincts. I think that in his case, that's reductionist. I don't think that's what's happening. I think that DeSantis blew his load too early. I think that he assumes that Donald Trump is going to be dragged into a jail cell and not be able to run. That is not certain. He's gambling effectively with his political future, and he didn't need to do that. Francis Perigold. Hey, Sticks, glad to catch you live. Can I shout out for my YouTube and other platforms channel, Whiskey Thoughts with Frankie P? Yes, that's a play on words. Thoughts. Okay, you can look up Whiskey Thoughts with Frankie P on various platforms. VI, it's Ringo Starr's 83rd birthday. Can I request an honorary peace and love to mark this special occasion? Yes, of course, you can have peace and love. I'm on acid. Sparky, good work, Sticks. Keep on trucking. Riona Sarah remains thirsty in the comments, by the way, I notice. Just saying. Next news story. Meta's Threads failed before it even began, says Sticks Hexenhammer. And that is what I think is happening. Can I please analyze the Meta Threads thing? So for the two people that don't understand, Meta's Threads is meant to be a Twitter killer. It's effectively a dovetailing of Instagram, creating a Twitter-like sort of apparatus to compete with it. And the idea is, well, Twitter is in disarray. Elon Musk has destroyed the site, so, we're going to displace them. Here's the problem. When I see that tens of millions of people have signed up for the service in the first 24 hours, and they did, that's not bad. Getting, 35 million people aboard in 24 hours, yeah, that's a pretty good launch. Congratulations, Zuckerberg. Here is the big problem, and I don't see enough people pointing this out. The majority of those people that signed up for Threads were already using Instagram, because you could literally just click if you're using Instagram on phone. A desktop user can't apparently access the site at all, so it's another artificial limitation on your growth. You can use Twitter on desktop. If it were app only, I wouldn't use Twitter because I'm a fucking Luddite. I'm a fucking boomer. The problem is this, and it needs to be pointed out. Instagram and Threads are both owned by Meta. So if you take 30 million people from Instagram, they're already using that, and it was the largest proportion of people were already using a Meta product, in other words. Now they're using Threads, or at least they're dabbling with it. We do not compete, and I've pointed this out for the better part of a decade, on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitter, or on any other fucking website. We do not compete for subscribers. We do not compete for followers. We do not compete for the number of people following a page. We compete for time usage. Content creators, the people, the influencers and shit on Instagram, compete for time usage and engagement. The number of likes, the number of retweets, the number of reshares, et cetera, depends on the platform, what they're called, and also the active time of engagement with the product, especially for ad-related purposes. I, for example, am subscribed to several hundred people on YouTube. I do not spend an even amount of time on all of their channels. Some channels I watch, I check up on them every 4th or 5th month because I think they might have good content. Others I watch routinely. That's the way it works. On Twitter, I follow plenty of people on there. I do not interact as much with person A as person B. We compete for time usage. A person can subscribe or follow to as many accounts as possible. They cannot interact with multiple accounts at the same time if they're interacting in a non-bot, non-autistic manner. You interact, you spend, let's say, an hour a day interacting with content. And you spent 15 minutes on person A's YouTube, 10 minutes on person B's YouTube, and then the rest you spent on somebody's Twitter, on various Twitter accounts or something. There is a difference between the amount of engagement. If you're going to have an ad-driven model that is absolutely 100% important, even if you don't have an ad-related model, the person getting more attention is benefiting more. You're more likely to like, you're more likely to share out, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You're more engaged with the material. And also the length of things like videos, et cetera, or threads actually does matter as well. The problem with threads is that you are effectively competing with yourself. Mark Zuckerberg is now building a company that competes with his own pre-existing company because a person is using Insta or Threads at the particular time. It makes no sense unless you assume that it's a grift to lure investors. Meta's stock just rose considerably over the last 24 hours. What the fuck do you think that Mark Zuckerberg is doing? It's a pump and dump. He's going to pump and dump threads the same way Google tried to do with Google+. In the end, there will be some users. It's probably going to go Mastodon-esque zombie mode. It'll be like Yahoo Answers towards the end. Some people use it. Most people revert back to Insta, despite the differential formatting being good for some users, because there won't be enough of those users migrating. The hope is to attack Twitter. The hope is to drive some of those user bases into Meta, but not for Threads. For Instagram. It's a con job. And to get investors on board to give him more money. That's exactly what this is. I can see it happening right now. It is as clear as goddamn crystal. This is a Zuckerberg grift. Absolutely 100%. By the way, there's also the issue that he had a bunch of former Twitter developers working for him, and it seems like some of them may have brought their code with them, and now they're threatening to be sued by Twitter. Whoops. That could be a little bit of a problem. Yeah, I don't think that Zuckerberg wants that code looked at because they did develop it awfully fucking quickly. Sparky, good work, Sticks. Keep on trucking. I don't know if I read that one already. Stan Vandracht, the main argument against DeSantis, his pick for running mate was horrendous. Jeanette Nunez called Trump worse than Hitler during the 2016 primary. Yeah, but I mean, TDS is common. We can forgive that one. Mike Rindell, normal and pasteurized, obviously. Breast milk has important immune system benefits for the baby, doesn't it? Yes, indeed. The mother's white blood cells are present at some quantity in the breast milk. Ozzy's Robots, morning. Just saw Sleazy P on old Beavis episode. Excellent. Francis Peral, caught that Trump Graham liberals comment, by the way. LMAO. The Patriot Cairo. I live in Florida. I'm Team Varsity Trump. DeSantis is JV. You could put it that way, yeah. I mean, the thing is, he is within the realm of viability. He's in the double-digit range as far as polling. He's at about 20 points in the aggregate. Good for him. But you jumped the gun. And then Trump was indicted, and it just solidified his core fan base. Honestly, I think when he got in, he was hoping Trump wouldn't be indicted. Chase in Texas. Sticks, I'm willing to bet my truck is faster than yours. Well, I don't have a truck, so probably. Let's see. We got more news, of course. David Hogg. Oh, boy. Yeah, gun boy here, really stepping in it again. I'm trying to figure out what he's doing. David Hogg, from Parkland, severe anti-gunner, wants 1,000 different restrictions on the militia. So he doesn't understand the Constitution. He got into Harvard basically as an ideological non-diversity hire, and now he's doing the activistic thing, trying to ban most guns in the country. But he keeps spiraling. He keeps posting pictures of himself firing guns while being an advocate for more gun control. And the only thing I can think is that he's trying to be like the head of the NRA, the head of the FUDs or something like that. Here's what he posted alongside a picture of his okay grouping, I suppose. I mean, it's not terrible. At least he can hit a target more or less. Here's what he said. If you need more than 10 rounds to hit something, you need more range time or you need glasses, not a larger magazine. Of course, if you're trying to hit multiple targets, this may not be applicable. David Hogg hopes you won't realize that. Hell, if you're that bad of a shot, you're safer with a baseball bat because a gun will probably be turned on you. Especially if you're shooting a rifle and can't hit what you are aiming for in 10 rounds, you need to check your sights, check your eye dominance, and or improve trigger pull. So he's claiming to be an expert on firearms now. He's they think your entire audience hates guns, and now you're trying to be an expert on the AK-47, which is, I guess, the gun he's referring to here. 30-round mags are for two things. Two things. Okay, there's a typo there, too, that I didn't notice before. War and people who don't know how to shoot. Interesting. Yeah, that makes a whole lot of sense, David. Well, you're not claiming that there's a third thing called mass shootings in there, although that would be applicable, admittedly so. And he posts a picture of his grouping. I mean, it's not terrible. He can, assuming that this is actually him that fired at the target. He's saying that he got this at 20 yards. Okay, that's not terrible. It's trainee level, but, at least you hit the target itself all 10 times out of 10. So respect, I guess. Am I supposed to be impressed by your grouping? Dude, I can do that with a 22 revolver. So, Jesus. At 20 yards, too. I know many who follow me haven't shot guns or semi-auto rifles before. No shit, David. That's why you shouldn't have posted this, because now you're getting massively ratioed by people who don't think guns should be legal at all. They think the fact that you're firing the AK-47 is a sin of some sort. Even with zero training, I could shoot a pretty tight grouping at 20 yards. Just a look. You don't need 30-round mags. If you can't stop whatever you need to with 10 7.62 rounds, you got bigger problems. Well, David, I could probably stop an assailant with 10 rounds of any intermediate caliber rifle. I could also stop him with the 22, but that's completely irrelevant to your point. But I might not be facing one assailant. And the assailant might not be human, by the way, just because you, and by the way, my camera, I think, just went out. In fact, I don't even know if people can hear me. Your browser has lost connection to your camera. Make sure that you have the right camera selected and close any other applications that may be using it. Well, I don't have any other applications open, so I'm going to assume that I nudged the cable the wrong way. All right, we're going to try to figure this out. Either that or I've been cam out, audio good. Okay, thank goodness. Okay, just hello. Okay, I can see myself finally, although my camera's a little bit wonky. What the fuck happened to it? Oh, the audio is working fine. Can everyone still hear me? I can see myself. I'm back. Okay, never mind. Anyway, David Hogg wants us to be impressed by the fact that he's capable of shooting a gun, but he forgets that 90% plus of his audience think that guns should be effectively banned. You're using an AK-47 or comparable weapon with the same chambered round, despite the fact that your friends in Congress are proposing an assault weapons ban. Well, the weapon that you're currently using is classed as one under that arbitrary colloquial definition by the anti-gunners. So, yeah, very, very interesting. Yeah, there's definitely something still a little bit wrong with the camera, but I'm just going to have to deal with it because I don't think that I can fiddle with the settings in here properly. How sad. Poor David. He's alienating his own audience. By the way, look at the number of responses versus likes on that post. 2,217 responses and 653 likes. His further posts getting near ratioed as well. A tight grouping, he says Globalist Watcher. Yeah, I mean, it's not terrible. Again, none of the shots didn't at least hit the cardboard target. Few of them hit the center. That's good. You probably stopped your assailant. What if you have 3 or 4 of them? Well, with that level of grouping, you probably don't drop them all. That's the whole fucking point. What if the person, by the way, is wearing body armor and you have to group those shots on the head because you can't get through the rifle armor or something? What if it's a bear? You know, some of us live on the edge of the North Woods when we're in the United States. A black bear that weighs 400 pounds could reasonably come out of the woods. One shot may or may not actually drop the bear. If you're a really, really good shot, but, you know, I don't claim to be Rambo. You might need more than 1. You might need more than 10. Yeah, I'm just saying, you know, if the bear stumbles out of the woods and attacks the cats or something, I'm going to unload unholy hell on it. I'm not going to be holding back. And I'm certainly not going to use my 22 on a black bear. You might as well just bonk it in the head with a ping pong ball. Yeah. For a sec there, I was worried that the stream had been banned or something like that. I guess it was just a tech issue. Hi, kitty. You're not the kitty who pukes everywhere. You're the kitty that pisses on things. Muddy Drip 6665. Wasn't there a study that showed even police miss majority of shots in stressful situations? Yes, when you are completely reactive in the situation, it's very easy to miss. And that's why I like it when you say, well, you don't need more than 10 rounds in the mag. Dude, most handguns come standard with 15 anyway. So you're basically just talking about rifles, and you're talking about a type of rifle that your fellow liberals generally want to ban altogether. So Ozzy's Robots, Hogs 15 minutes, courtesy of expired classmates. Yes, he is a coffin rider. Mojo Hansen, liked your tweet about not doubting yourself. Thank you. Yeah, let other people do the doubting. You believe in yourself. Self-improve a little bit, you'll get further. The Patriot Cairo, hardcore zoomed in now. Nice teeth, lol. Yeah, something has happened with my camera, unfortunately. Deus Flex reminds me of those cringy military members and veterans who think that just because they stood armed watches think that they're experts on the Second Amendment. There, I said it. I agree with you. They're called FUDs. Sparky, 20 yards isn't far for a rifle. Yeah, although it would be within the general engagement distance for self-defense. So we'll give him that one. That's not a huge faux pas. It's just, you're bragging about your grouping. It's okay. It's not terrible, but it's not great either. And you're using a weapon that you want to ban. So what the fuck are you talking about? Shaker Silver on East Block Vid. Funny that Trump saw it coming in and tried to open to Russia, North Korea, India to lessen China's block. Biden's idiocy created a multipolar world. Exactly. Next news story really quickly. Greta Thunberg got arrested for blockading an oil port in Sweden. I've got good news and bad news. The good news is there's a chance that she goes to jail. The bad news is that a Swedish jail is basically Motel 6. Have you seen tours of the Swedish prison system, including even for violent felons, for people that are incarcerated for long lengths of time and, they're potentially violent individuals? Have you seen what their fucking prisons look like? No wonder their MREs are so decadent too. I gotta hand it to any Swedish people watching. Your culture is arguably the most cosmopolitan in world history. You're basically still like elves from Rivendell or something. Unfortunately, if Greta Thunberg gets any jail time at all, and there's not she probably just gets a fine or something. She is still relatively young, even if she's an adult. I can't imagine they're not going to put her in with the burglars and the rapists and stuff. Even if she does go to jail, though, let's say they give her the maximum 6-month sentence after this oil port blockade, she's going to basically be in a college dorm / motel. The prisons there have cable TV, internet access, exercise rooms, and shit like that. Prison is not the same in Sweden as in most of the world. The same is true of a handful of other countries, especially the Nordic countries. If you go to prison there, it's fairly low risk. The max security facilities are basically like the low security, like the Ghislaine Maxwell prison in the United States would be about the only thing comparable. Unless it's like a local lockup where you have the town drunk or something singing sea shanties at 2 a.m., probably there's going to be no problem. Arguably, you'd rather get there for a longer sentence than go to the county jail because you needed to go into the drunk tank. So she'll get in trouble. It's just that getting in trouble in Sweden, as we've seen from even high-level criminals, is not really getting in trouble at all. So sad. Really, what needs to be done is she needs to be made an example of. She needs to have the smirk slapped off of her face so that she fucking stops. Stops clout chasing. Your family is very, very wealthy. Why don't you just go and plant trees? Why don't you use your family's wealth to do something that actually would tackle the climate change you claim to believe in? You're a vegan, but you're eating all of this decadent, prepared food in plastic containers, riding first class and shit like that. The Germans had to get after you actually because you were criticizing their rail service, despite the fact that you got gratis tickets for being a world leader. I find Greta Thunberg actually amusing at this point. I have a feeling that she's going to be in the news sporadically for a very long time to come. Slowly getting less and less young, and therefore getting less and less attention. We've seen this also with our friend David Hogg. Aussie's Robots, Hogg, Greta AOC, etc. The astroturfing is nauseating. She's astroturfed by her family, ironically, not by the system. She's sort of like an actress more than anything else. Eric 4x4 on Rumble. Feral hog populations all over the South travel in packs. Yeah, exactly. Let's say that you get a little farm. That's a piece of land. It's been inundated by 300 fucking pound pigs, razorbacks and shit. Number one, you do need a rifle to tackle them. Your 9mm is not going to do very much to a 300-pound pig. You might drop it, but you're going to need to be a good shot. It's sort of like hunting a grizzly bear with an AR-15. Well, you might hit it right in the heart, but you might miss, piss it off, and then it rips your head off. You should probably choose a better weapon. 308 comes to mind, 30-06 or something, fucking 50 cal. You might not survive the endeavor. A lot of people don't understand that in certain parts of the country, you have feral animals, you have large wild animals in general, and you have gang violence. Well, yeah, damn right I want more than 10 rounds. I've got a Glock 17 at home. It carries 15. That's satisfactory for the situations I would find myself in. But I mean, when I get back, I probably am going to get something in 308 or something, just in case a 400-pound black bear wanders out of the woods. I want something more beefy. Now, in the state of Vermont, you can only have 10-round magazines, although there is a legal challenge finally to that. There should be 10,000 more legal challenges. By the way, please send no more super chats. I've got one more story to go through, a funny one with Marjorie Taylor Greene, and I've got to get to work. Spider Eternal, adrenaline can drop accuracy down to 18% even in trained soldiers. Source, a Marine shooting instructor named Thomas Sowell. But hey, what does he know? Yeah, my dad was in the Marines, and then I'm assuming he's a pretty good shot. But, you know, you do, in some cases, you might need more than 10 rounds. What if there's 11 assailants? Well, 10 rounds, okay, even if you hit them square in the forehead every single time, you've only dropped 10 of them. Then you have to reload. President Irina Vladimirovna Putina. Sticks, I've seen Swedish prisons. I didn't want to indicate you were a felon. I'm also a truck driver who had to stay in a Motel 6 while my truck was in the shop. I'd rather be in the prison. Yeah. La Quinta. La Quinta Inn. Aquafan. He's missing the point. Second Amendment is for weapons of war, so he can keep the government in check. And that includes full auto rifles, tanks, and nukes. If the government has the right to buy and make it, so do we. D. Styx Hexenhammer, making dames wet at the loins with his electric banter. 10.2, so erect in stature he has to register it as a weapon after. It's Styx Hexenhammer. Memeing it up real hard there. Haha, get it hard? I'm allowed to make dad jokes because I'm a dad. Transylvanian 90, feral hog doesn't want you to hunt feral hogs. I wonder why. Wonder if, I don't think you'd want to eat the meat unless it was well done, though. The Dutch eat raw bacon, by the way. I don't know how good an idea that this is. And the Germans, they eat raw hamburger, and I never fucking knew this. There's some sort of like practical national dish that's literally nothing more than raw burger. It's some sort of like offshoot tartare, and I'm like, you know, I realize that these are farm-raised and vaccinated animals, and they're kept clean and free of parasites and shit like that. But why? Why would you want to eat raw meat? Unless it's sushi. Sushi gets a pass. Sparky, Greta had a meeting with Zelensky, but said nothing about Ukraine's destruction of the dam or U.S. destruction of Nord Stream. Both were environmental disasters. True. Patriot Cairo, missed my chat at Fed screen blackout. Check. I can try to find it. It's probably buried by now. I'll do my best. I'm not seeing it. I had another problem the other day. Someone claimed they sent several super chats, but they never appeared. So my apologies. Missed my chat at Fed screen blackout. Check. Yeah, I don't see it. Anyway, yeah, it's probably a YouTube fucking problem. They've got glitch at this point. You know, they're more focused on making sure that anal sex uploads are available to the whole public than to fix their shit. Yeah, I mean, I have no problem with like a rare steak, although I like it medium rare generally. I think that's the perfect steak. But burger, no thank you. It's been processed, and so it's seen the outside world. If you eat it raw, you could have some sort of contaminant there. I'm not interested in raw meat unless it has to do with fish. And the final news story. Marjorie Taylor Greene has reportedly been booted from the House Freedom Caucus after calling Lauren Boebert a bitch. Yes, this is apparently true. When I first saw it, I thought it was just some drama starting leftoid stuff, but it's actually true. Marjorie Taylor Greene had a kerfuffle some time ago with Lauren Boebert and called her a little bitch. And the House Freedom Caucus has now expelled Marjorie Taylor Greene for this. I approve of the move. As a non-Republican, drama aside, and I don't really care what congressional members say to each other, I am Team Boebert over Team Marjorie Taylor Greene, definitely. You can basically group the Republicans in 4 tiers. At the lowest tier, you've got the unipartists. So Mitt Romney, Mitch McConnell, people who are bitches for the system. Then you've got people who situationally they're useful, but they're generally bitches for the system. So you think of Ted Cruz or somebody like that. Then you have people that are sort of populist light that, you know, they do an okay job, but they cuck sometimes. Marjorie Taylor Greene would be one of them. Dan Crenshaw and even Gates would be others. And then you have people that are more principled. Rand Paul, people who you don't necessarily agree with. I certainly don't agree with Boebert on religious issues, but she walks the walk on populism. I will fucking give her credit for that. And or Luna or certain other members of Congress, they would be on the top tier. So I am Team Boebert in this. I'd certainly approve of it. If you're going to berate another member for screwing around in a legislative sense, you know, a la things like impeaching Adam Schiff and pretend like Boebert's the problem, and then you lose it on her. I mean, I don't care about congressional decorum because cocaine is flowing freely and you've got people with their tits out at the White House and stuff. I think the decorum days are over, but there are still rules you have to play by if you're a member of a caucus. If you're a member of a sub-caucus that has its own rules and bylaws and so forth, you have to play by them. And you didn't. You called one of your fellow members a little bitch. For what? For opposing you in a legislative fashion like you're queen bee? Okay. I don't have any problem with or thinking that Lauren Boebert's a bitch. I mean, go ahead and think it if you want, but you fucked around and you found out, Marjorie Taylor Greene. Just saying. Trash Panda, have you seen that smooth-brained idea of using giant kites to move cargo ships to cut carbon emissions? Makes about as much sense as hitching up a team of horses to my semi. Well, I actually covered that in my New Tech exclusive this morning. And while the idea is novel, I don't see it really working. I suggested we take all the liberals and put them on ships and we force them to use oars in order to help the climate. Francis Peral, no more chats, but thanks for all your hard work. Thank you very much. So yeah, we're going to go offline now, I think. Thank you to the almost 5,000 people that were watching live. It's Friday, and my camera's fucked up anyway, so fuck it. I'm going to go and eat and relax because I've been now 5 days sleep deprived, and I've got things that I want to do. I just want to lay there on the carpet over in the baby area and play with toys, basically, at this point. That's basically where my mental maturity is anyway, so it works for me. That's about all. Peace out.